audience.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, my name is Jenna Thomas, and today I'll be doing a presentation on the differences of factory farming versus organic farming. So first I'll begin with an introduction. What is factory farming? So factory farming is a method of farming where animals are kept in small and enclosed spaces, and this maximizes the amount of yield produced. In terms of crops, chemical pesticides are typically used to keep the amount of yield high. So the number one factor in factory farming is that it's very inexpensive. So this allows farmers to be very efficient in their production and to have low costs and high amounts of profit. There are also fewer regulations that come along with factory farming, so they don't have to adhere to organic standards, which makes it a bit easier for farmers to choose this type of farming versus organic farming. Additionally, they do produce more yield. So in terms of crops, they will use pesticides to help protect the crops from weeds or surrounding insects that would damage the crops. And in terms of animals, they would use antibiotics and hormones to help the animals survive. So this will increase the amount of yield. One of the biggest downsides in factory farming is the pesticide use. While it's helpful to increase the amount of yield, it actually can have long-term effects on humans and human health, as well as the environment. Next, I will talk about organic farming. So organic farming is a type of farming that steers away from the use of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, and they also refrain from the use of antibiotics and hormones for animals unless absolutely needed. So this is the biggest factor with organic farming, is that there's no synthetic pesticide use. Additionally, animals are free range. So instead of being in a small and enclosed space, they would be in a field with just fences. And so they have a lot of area to roam and kind of be most like their natural state. Another factor is they use crop rotations. So this is helpful for soil and environmental health. Instead of planting the same crop on the same land year after year, they would actually rotate which type of crop they plant on that area, and this helps to keep the soil fertile. Next, this is a more expensive option. So since animals are free range, this would require more land. Also, since crops are using the crop rotation method as well as no synthetic pesticides, this leads to less yield. So this will then be more expensive for farmers and more expensive for consumers. So why is this topic important to us? One of the biggest factors on why we should focus on this topic of farming is that our global demand is increasing. So by 2050, our world is projected to have a population of 10 billion people. So this just pushes us to evaluate our current farming methods and to make sure they're efficient and effective. So one source that I investigated was by Lauren Ponzio, and she was a scientist at the University of California, Berkeley. She explained that pesticide use, while it could have negative effects, it helps to bridge the gap for yields and low yields that would come from no pesticide use. So this is one of the factors on why factory farming might be better in some cases, because the amount of yield is able to be much higher. Next, there are many environmental and health concerns that come along with pesticide use as well as antibiotics. And so there are many factors that we need to take into account, not only for our present benefit, but also for our future. Next, ethical treatment of animals is very important. So when looking at factory farming, often these animals are kept in small and enclosed areas. And this can lead to animal inhumane, the animals might be kept in small and enclosed area, which can lead to diseases. So this is a diagram I have here that kind of shows how antibiotic use can contribute to a cycle of environmental harm. There was an article written by Jonathan Anomaly at Duke University, and he expands on the topic of factory farming, specifically about the spread of influenza across animals, antibiotic resistance that can be built over time, and animal cruelty concerns. He spoke a little bit about antibiotic resistance and how giving animals antibiotics and then us consuming those animal products can actually have a long-lasting impact on our human health. So this was a compare and contrast that I did a little bit with factory farming, and so some of the components with humans in particular is that antibiotic resistance will be built up. And this was one of the biggest factors. And then with organic farming, there are fewer chemical residues, so this can have a positive impact on our environment and human health. There are different regulations when speaking of factory and organic farming. So typically factory farming, there are less regulations, and then with organic farming, there are more regulations. So it's a little bit harder to navigate. And then lastly, I just wanted to show some evidence. So here is factory farming, and then here's organic farming. In factory farms, animals are often kept in enclosed areas, while in organic farms, they're free range. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you all for coming. And being my audience.
Woo-hoo! That was so good, Jenna. Woo!
Grace, no words?